What up, it's Casper. Today I'm going to be talking about the movie Elvis. Elvis is a 2022 film. It's PG-13 and it's 2 hours and 39 minutes. Directed by Baz Luhrmann. So in this movie, we're seeing the life about Elvis. We're seeing how Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, ends up discovering Elvis. And in this movie, we're not only seeing how the Colonel manages Elvis and how he discovered him and the whole process and how he ends up promoting him after discovering him. We also go back and forth in the film of how Elvis got involved with his music inspiration, and we see where he got all his influences from. This movie bounces around a little bit, but the main focus is seeing how the Colonel Tom Parker ends up managing and promoting Elvis. And then we also see him till Elvis's final days. So the fact that this movie is almost 3 hours, I'm going to try to point out a lot of the good stuff in this movie and a lot of the iffy moments in here. For people who don't know about Elvis's career or how he is as an artist, I think this movie does a good representation for just people who just haven't been introduced to him at all. There's a lot of stuff in here that's tweaked a little bit, but a lot of their moments are actually on point. The Colonel meeting Elvis, a lot of the stuff in this movie, those are the tweaked moments, like at the carnival. That didn't happen, but being like a Hollywood film, they're gonna add just more excitement and just more eye-catching moments for the audience. I think Lisa Marie, when she was alive, she even saw the film, so the fact that she gave it like a thumbs up and sense of like they did a good job on representing who Elvis kind of was as a person. The movie did a pretty good job just on getting an understanding feel on who he was. I think the length of the movie was pretty much on point. Bit by bit, this movie just kept me attached. People behind the scenes did their research and had to put that feel. It wasn't something that they just read. I feel like a lot of people behind the scenes actually went to where Elvis lived and actually maybe reached out to people he dealt with. I really like that the movie did a good storytelling vibe. Obviously, a lot of the stuff are not going to be very accurate, but this movie did give you a lot of moments where you kind of wanted to compare to see how the real life moment was. Pacing of the movie was something that you did want to sit down and keep wanting to learn more about. So I really enjoyed the flow because of the timestamps they had. They started off the movie with Tom Hanks being their narrator. Moments in his lines in the beginning where you're like, oh damn, this is a crazy story or a crazy relationship between Elvis and the Colonel. So with the flow of this movie, you're not only seeing the history with Elvis and his come up on him being the star, you're also seeing little moments around Elvis, like what he was dealing with. You also see Elvis deal with B.B. King in the movie. You can see in the movie what era, what year it was. We're seeing like the overall world around this character Elvis, which I really appreciated because it added a lot of the stuff that was happening around during that time. You see the assassination of MLK, JFK as well. The way they portrayed it in the movie, only imagine if that feeling in the movie was like the same feeling how they felt in real life during that time. The actors in that moment, when it was focused around the world of Elvis, I think it was very believable and made you wonder like, wow, this really did happen. The movie did good on literally showing a lot of history back then, and I appreciated those moments because they made a lot of those moments look very believable. And with the actors like Elvis seeing all that, I could just only imagine how people felt when that was really happening. So very creative with that. I think the movie did bring you into a Elvis world and the Elvis era. The movie really had you attached. Like I mentioned before, Tom Hanks starts the movie off. I did enjoy the vibe of Tom Hanks narrating throughout the movie. Tom Hanks' voice actually fits very well as a narrating voice, so I think it fit on point. You look back at footage to see how the Colonel really talked and his whole presence. You can kind of see that they were on the money with it. From the performance from Tom Hanks, it was good acting. I did like the lines and the whole aggressiveness that he was putting out as this manager, being grimy. He did put out a lot of emotions. He did put out a lot of stuff in this movie that's gonna probably tick you off as a viewer. I could hear his regular voice at times, so that's why I was like, but it wasn't a bother. Visually, it's looking okay. Visually, it's like, all right, it's passable. I feel like Tom Hanks' acting is something that you could rely on. That's the vibe I got with here, but pretty presentable on being the manager. Good job on the overall acting with Tom Hanks. Austin Butler, he plays Elvis. I'm not familiar with any of Austin Butler's acting at all. I haven't seen him in any movie, but to be honest, like there was moments in here where he kind of did look like that Elvis figure. Beginning is the only time that he was singing like his natural voice. As he gets older, his character Elvis gets older, they end up blending the real Elvis voice with his voice. Austin Butler was that character or that actor in the movie that I did feel that he put a lot of time into pushing out this performance. Overall, the performance was on point. I did enjoy it. Seemed nothing off. Didn't feel like he was doing too much like with his animated self. I think he did a good enough posture, good representation on showing what superstar he was at that time, and then seeing his growth in every year that he was growing as the superstar. I think it was well presented. Shout out to the costume design, because so many costumes, so many looks for Austin Butler, and even the whole overall world, the overall atmosphere in this movie, like very creative and detailed. You don't really want to take your eye off anything because you really feel like you're in a time machine with this movie. The fast-paced editing was creative and dope, but you could see how it helped with Austin Butler being as Elvis, because Austin Butler is shining when he's performing and doing his moves, and then we're hearing Tom Hanks doing the narrating behind, or it's cutting back and forth like that. But the fast-paced editing, it's cool to watch. It's not a bother, but it helped with Austin Butler's flow as an actor as Elvis. You gotta shout out to the camera too, because it was crispy. The way they were making everybody look in here on point. I don't know what camera they used in here, but for sure they were using a lot of different ones because they were on point with all that. I was very impressed with the whole camera direction and the quality. But Austin Butler acting like his one-on-one with Tom Hanks, you could see the relationship was there. Whenever Austin Butler had his own moments of putting out lines, that he really put his focus and his time to figure out the small little postures of what Elvis probably really did in real life. Whenever Austin Butler had his moments without doing the moves or singing Elvis's song, I still think everything he did was passable. It still felt believable. You see with the makeup, it could be a little too much, but I heard that Elvis did wear a lot of makeup, so it's just like something I'm getting used to and didn't know about it. Overall acting was actually a shocker. The actress who played Elvis's mom in this movie, she was another standout. Gladys, she was played by Helen Thomson. I think the whole presentation, the whole look, the lines was something that once again made you feel like you went back in time and saw what they were dealing with. Really cool to see, like I said, all the history that was happening during Elvis's time, and then seeing all the ups and down moments, and even seeing how America was back then. Like the headlines back then were almost as brutal as now. There's a lot of moments in here with the editing that's showing a lot of creative transitions with the movie. I was very impressed on all the stuff they were adding in here. It had like a music video vibe, but very creative with all the animations and graphic effects in here. This movie had a feel of like you're watching so many other movies, but then when you watch this, you can tell the small little things that other movies don't have. Huge applause to the editing and all the extra stuff that they were doing in here. The transitions on with Elvis doing his comeback special and then putting the headlines with that special. I was like, yo, that's crazy. The whole set design and seeing everything that was going on during his time. None of the lines felt like it was cheesy. This movie just grabbed you in to be like, yo, what else happened? There's a lot of stuff in this movie. Like I said, there's tweaks in here that, you know, they're doing for movie purposes. When Elvis dealt with Priscilla in this movie, it made it seem like they're almost the same age, but crazy to know in real life that Elvis met Priscilla when she was 14 and he was like 22 or 24 or 23, something like that. But insane to know that, seeing what they're showing on the screen, you know, they're obviously not showing that she looks very young, just looks like a relatable age. Small moments like that, like him dealing with Priscilla, is one of those things where if you know, you know. Another thing that I didn't like about the movie was, it's not a big bother, but is a huge notice for me, was the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack because they're playing some bangers. They're playing some old school classics. They're playing Elvis songs as well. But then out of nowhere, they play like a couple modern songs. For me, it was like taking it back a little bit. After my watching the movie Elvis, out of 10, I'm gonna have to give the movie a 9 out of 10. That's my movie review for the movie Elvis. Shout out to you guys for tuning into the video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.